From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Madeline Kerr begins now.
With residents receiving their ballots and casting their votes, Whyalla mayoral candidate Tom Antonio is doubling down on his idea to build a new leisure centre. He says as a city of substantial size with proud sporting history, Whyalla deserves a pool and recreation facilities that are up to scratch.
A place of fun and fitness when it's not broken. The Whyalla community continues to raise concerns about the dilapidated state of the city's leisure centre. With local government voting underway, mayoral candidate Tom Antonio says he will address the problem in the right way.
The splash pool's already been leaking thousands of litres per day. Now the main pool's leaking as well. That's about 20,000 litres a day. That's $35,000 a year approximately of water, chlorinated water going into the soil. That also cannot be good for the structure of the building.
The candidate says there has also been reports of many birds nestling in the roof with their faeces allegedly dropping into the pools.
You've also got a spa that doesn't work. You've got a slide that doesn't work. The slide's been out of action now for quite a few years. We need a facility that people can use.
The current council has adopted a long-term master plan for the site, with the first stage seeing over $700,000 budgeted for repairs. Antonio says this money won't even begin to cover fixing some of the minor issues, saying the council should stop wasting money on band-aid solutions and should instead consider bulldozing the site and starting again.
It's not acceptable. We need a new state-of-the-art leisure centre that the people of Whyalla can be proud of.
Antonio says he won't kick the problem further down the line, but rather follow a similar path to Mount Gambier Council, who have been able to start construction on their own state-of-the-art recreation hub.
We can get that funding, hopefully from Building Better Regions Fund. We can work with the state government. All I will do is work with those governments and make sure that they assist us to get what Mount Gambier are currently under construction with the new leisure centre they have, which is absolutely magnificent.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Golf News.
With inflation on the rise in Australia, the increased cost of living is damaging families and young people. Leading child and adolescent psychiatrist Lisa Myers is concerned how today's financial stresses is affecting the next generation.
Living in today's society comes at a cost, and it's an expensive one. With inflation continuing to grow to new heights, health professionals are concerned about the impacts it's having on families and young people.
I think the fact is everybody really is struggling at the moment. And obviously when parents are struggling, they're talking about these things in the home, and children are often privy to these conversations.
Children's psychiatrist Lisa Myers says a parent's financial stresses can be challenging for the entire family, but particularly damaging for children if not addressed properly.
Children don't have the perspective. They take what they hear at face value. And so if mum and dad are sort of saying, oh, you know, everything is dire, or we're going to be broke, or we have no money, and that might not be entirely true.
Financial stresses may impact a child's access to important activities like sport, tutoring, or recreational activities. However, there are some strategies to combat this.
Sometimes working around things. So if clients, families can't attend regular appointments, to perhaps get some homework or practical strategies from their doctor or from their therapist.
Lisa even going as far to write her own book titled When the Lights Go Out. A work 4 years in the making, exploring tough issues and the stigma around mental health.
We're all human, we're all the same, and really trying to rid the stigma that surrounds mental health and the shame that stops so many people from just being open and getting their help.
If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, you can call Lifeline on 13 11 14. Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
We brought you the news last week that a Spencer Golf GP has been voted the best in the state. And earlier today, reporter Annabelle Francis got to speak with Dr. Holly Deer about her accolade from the Royal Australian College of GPs.
Crystal Brook, the proud home of GP of the Year, Dr. Holly Deer. Growing up in regional South Australia, Dr. Deer said she always saw herself working in the outside of the big cities one way or another.
Thought that would be a natural thing for me to end up doing, and it has been. It's been really easy to transition to another country area and enjoy working and living here.
Practicing medicine in the country comes with many benefits and challenges.
It's a privilege to work in health in a community. You see people right through every stage of their life. You can provide continuity of care in the hospital. Being able to do that for people is just such an honour.
However, like most professions, the past couple of years have been far from easy.
A pretty tough time with COVID, really tough with the pandemic. Our way we deliver medicine has changed significantly. And I think the other major challenge is the shortage all round with health, not just general practice.
Dr. Dia says the tough times haven't deterred her from doing what she loves, saying she feels supported through the practice and her family. The nomination and win for GP of the Year, the cherry on top.
I feel like it's an award for our practice, for our community, for regional rural health in South Australia, to say, look, we're out here, we're trying our really best to do a great job, and we love what we do.
Annabelle Francis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, the federal member for Grey pushing for continued security measures at Whyalla Airport. And accolade after accolade, the Flinders Rangers' excellent year of recognition continues. Welcome back. Rowan Ramsey is calling on the federal government to back Whyalla Airport so it's not left to foot the bill for the site's new security scanners operating costs. He says next week's federal budget must account for the cost, otherwise the additional costs will be forced onto passengers.
Next week's budget must not forget regional airports. In 2018, security rules changed so that airports with planes seating more than 40 passengers require a full security scanning system to be installed. With this, the Whyalla Council remodelled their airport to suit these standards, so larger Qantas planes could service the area.
I think Whyalla is the lowest passenger throughput airport in Australia that actually has to install these scanners.
The MP says the ongoing cost of operating these scanners is about $1 million per year.
So consequently, the flow-on cost to the passenger is the highest, at around about $50 a head, which is just totally unsustainable.
To prevent these additional costs from causing airline tickets to soar, the previous coalition government set aside $28.5 million to continue covering the costs.
But because we went to election after the budget was tabled, those budget papers were never approved by the Parliament.
With funding to maintain scanners now up in the air, Mr Ramsey is calling on the Labor government to match the money previously budgeted for. Otherwise, Whyalla commuters will have to cover the gap.
It is absolutely vital that the new budget next Tuesday has that $28.5 million in it, or otherwise I do not see our airports like Whyalla and other similarly affected airports will be able to continue to bear the cost of the screening.
He says without the federal government support, it will be highly likely that Qantas will put a pin in its Whyalla route. Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Flinders Rangers has earned yet another feather in its already decorated cap. The picturesque region has been named as Park of the Month by the Department of Environment and Water.
The Flinders Rangers, one of South Australia's most famous natural draw cards. And the state government agrees, declaring all national parks around the ranges the Park of the Month.
Fantastic acknowledgement, and also just reinforces the investment that's being made from local council, from state government and also the federal government, knowing the remarkable Southern Flinders project has been talked about for a long time and has officially kicked off, and it's a 2-year project with some $10 million investment between the state and Commonwealth government.
Extra activities including guided tours, Indigenous cultural experiences, art workshops and driving tours are available to the public, showcasing what the national parks have to offer. The state government delighted with the efforts made to promote the ranges.
Well, it's really wonderful for the Flinders and for South Australia in general, I guess, really, because it's such a beautiful part of the world. And to have that recognition, I think, is really important and something that we should be proud of.
The Flinders Ranges being announced as Park of the Month comes after the area was recommended for the UNESCO World Heritage shortlisting earlier this year, setting up the region for a major boost in tourism and research. For more information on activities for Park of the Month, visit the Parks SA website. Daniel Pizarro, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. The interactive app helping Spencer Golf locals track native bird populations. And the Monday Plains to turn an icy shade of electric blue at next year's bash. Welcome back. Heading into summer, now is the perfect time for Spencer Golf locals to get out and count some birds. The Australian Bird Count Initiative started back in 2014 and has since gained momentum, with over 1 million birds already being recorded.
It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a certified bird nerd. Anyone with a smartphone can be a bird watcher with the Aussie Bird Count app.
We really wanted to get to know what was going on with our most common birds, the birds that we see every day that tend to be ignored when it comes to being studied.
The aim of the bird count is to gain a better understanding of the birds in populated areas. Common birds like the rainbow lorikeet or the superb fairy wren. And the best part, you don't need to travel far.
A lot of people think that when you're a bird watcher, you have to go to like a national park before you can start bird watching, but you can bird watch anywhere, because one of the great things about birds is that they're that connection to nature that we see all around us.
Sean says most people know more about our rarest birds than our common species. But with the aid of the app, it's a chance to change that and contribute towards important research.
The Aussie Bird Count gives us an annual snapshot of the state of health of our birds, because birds are really good indicators of the health of the local environment in general.
So the next time you have a free 20 minutes, simply pop outside and start recording what you see using the app. Happy bird watching. Annabelle Francis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
It may be a year away, but a mix of performers have already been revealed for the next Monday Bash. Some will be making a return to the Plains, while others will be rocking them for the first time.
It's been a busy year for the Outback Music Festival Group, putting on 3 music festivals in 2022.
We haven't come up for air at this stage, so yeah, really looking forward to getting the tickets out on sale and maybe having a bit of a break in a few weeks' time.
The group has secured some of the biggest names in Australian rock for next year's bash. Expect the likes of Icehouse, Thirsty Merc, Hoodoo Gurus and Human Nature, just to name a few.
Like Human Nature, what a quality world-class group that is, and been performing in Las Vegas for many, many years.
The group started with the Big Red Bash in Birdsville, before heading to Far West New South Wales for Monday. Mr Donovan, no stranger to the silver screen, featured on Australian Story earlier this month, talking about how the music festival came about.
They came up to Big Red Bash this year and followed us around and got all sorts of footage and did a lot of interviews before Big Red Bash and some after Big Red Bash.
Rumours have been swirling about late additions to the lineup, but Mr Donovan remains tight-lipped. As Thirsty Merc says, Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. On the up, prices soar at servos across the Spencer Gulf, and sunshine and heavy falls. We'll have the weather details with Ruby Cairns. Welcome back. Just when fuel prices seem to be on the decline, this recent wave of inflation has seen pumps across the state reach new highs. Commuters will have to dig deep into their pockets this week when fueling up their tanks. Our reporter has the latest.
Thanks, Maddie. Well, it's not looking good for motorists here in the Spencer Gulf, with the prices of unleaded and diesel on the rise. Unfortunately, like you said, inflation is back, and with it brings a lot of red arrows this week. Looking at the price of unleaded, as you can see, there has been a major price surge. Port Lincoln's suffering the most, with a 7 cent increase from last week, now paying $1.84 a litre. Whyalla and Port Pirie both on the rise, paying $1.86 per litre. Those filling up in Broken Hill impacted the most in the region, with pumps now charging a huge $1.93. And the tables have turned on those living in the city, with Adelaide pumps now charging the most for unleaded, sitting at $1.95 a litre. Over to diesel prices now, where things are looking even worse. The sea of red arrows has seen diesel jump up by as much as 20 cents per litre. Once again, Port Lincoln and Broken Hill pumps are charging the most in the region, holding steady at the $2.35 mark. Things aren't as bad in Port Augusta and Kadina, with both averages charging people $2.27 a litre. Whyalla's pumps jumping up by around 17 cents this week, charging commuters $2.28. Adelaide prices have also increased. Not even the cost of LPG is budging, with the majority of prices across the region holding their value. Port Pirie, however, has shown a slight increase, paying $1.14, a 2-cent increase from last week. But there is one green arrow in sight, and that's the price of LPG in Adelaide dropping by around 2 cents. That's all the averages from across the region this week. Fingers crossed the pressure at the pumps will relieve when we return.
Fingers crossed indeed. Thank you, Henry. Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Ruby Cairns. Ruby, rain around the region today, except for one place.
That's right, Maddie. Port Lincoln appears to be none the wiser to wet weather affecting the rest of the region. Blue skies and 21 degrees today. Elsewhere, rain around Port Augusta this morning, 20 degrees. Broken Hill topped 14 degrees with around 6 mils falling this afternoon. Looking more broadly at today's weather map now, 25 degrees for Woodner and Adelaide, 22 for Whyalla, Kadina and Port Pirie, 21 up in Coober Pedy today. Taking a look at the satellite image now, a slow-moving low-pressure system is deepening over Western South Australia, drawing in a humid tropical air mass to the east and south. A low will move slowly eastwards to be centred over Western New South Wales later tomorrow. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, we'll start with the Gulf waters. Southeasterly winds 15 to 20 knots, turning south to southwesterly in the morning. Seas between 1 and 1.5 metres. South to southwesterly swells below 1 metre, increasing to 1.5 metres. Mostly sunny for Port Lincoln tomorrow, 20 degrees. Mostly sunny and 22 for Cleve. A bit warmer around Woodner for Thursday. Sunny and a top of 28. 13 for Whyalla tonight, 23 tomorrow with partly cloudy conditions. Also partly cloudy around Port Augusta and Kadina, 24. Partly cloudy skies in Port Pirie. Not cold enough though, 25 degrees. A shower or two, 20 for Clare, and another possible storm for Broken Hill tomorrow. Up to 15 mils of rain will fall. The top temp will be 23. Let's take a look further through the week now. Sunny for Coober Pedy and Woodner for Friday, 30 and 28 degrees respectively. Partly cloudy, 26 for Port Augusta. Showers set to increase around Broken Hill. A chance of a thunderstorm headed for a max of 23 degrees. Cloudy at top of 23 also for Port Pirie. Partly cloudy and 22 degrees for Whyalla, Kadina and Adelaide. Moving on to Saturday's outlook now. The rain will be out in force across the region. Possible storms for Port Augusta and Coober Pedy. Showers just about everywhere else. Temperatures between 19 and 29. Let's take a quick look at how Sunday's shaping up, and the severity of rain will increase in places like Whyalla, Kadina, Port Pirie and Port Augusta. Showers around Port Lincoln, Woodner, Broken Hill and Coober Pedy. And just quickly for our viewers in the far west New South Wales, moderate flooding is occurring at Whyalla. For the latest, head to the Bureau of Meteorology's website. It's back to you, Mads.
Thanks for that, Ruby. And that's the local news this Wednesday. I'm Madeline Kerr. From all of us here, thanks for joining us. I'll have updates a little later, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.